The Nation of Islam is a religious and political movement founded in 1930 by Wallace Fard Muhammad in Detroit. It blends black nationalism with its own interpretation of Islam, differing significantly from orthodox Islamic beliefs. The nation teaches that a series of mortal black gods have been Allah, with Fard Muhammad as the latest. It claims humanity descends from the divine Arabic-speaking dark-skinned tribe of Shabazz, but a scientist named Yaqub created the white race, which was inherently violent and overthrew the tribe of Shabazz to gain global dominance. The Nation of Islam calls for a separate black nation state in the US and demands strict dress codes and gender roles. It also believes Fard Muhammad will return on the mothership to eradicate white people. With around 35,000 members, the group has been labeled as a black supremacist hate group due to its racism toward white people, calling Judaism a dirty religion, and anti-LGBT rhetoric. The group is also condemned by Muslims around the world. The Westboro Baptist Church is an unaffiliated primitive Baptist church in Topeka, Kansas, founded in 1955 by Fred Phelps. It's considered a hate group and cult, notorious for its aggressive protests against LGBTQ people, atheists, Jews, Muslims, and other Christian denominations. The church follows five-point Calvinism, believing that humans are inherently corrupt, God saves only a few select people, and most people are doomed to eternal damnation. The church teaches that being gay is destructive and claims that American society is corrupt for allowing sinful behavior. They are infamous for their picketing ministry, holding controversial protests not to convert people, but to warn them of their supposed damnation. They frequently disrupt funerals or sports events, often defacing the American flag. Westboro indoctrinates children from a young age, raising them as walking picket signs despite knowing they will be socially ostracized. Their extreme views are condemned by nearly all Christian groups. Fred Phelps died in 2014. The church did not hold a funeral because they don't worship the dead. The Ku Klux Klan is a white supremacist Protestant extremist hate group founded in 1865 by Confederate veterans in Tennessee. It began as a vigilante group using terror, violence, and intimidation to suppress black Americans and white Reconstruction supporters. The Klan was responsible for lynchings, voter suppression, and brutal attacks to maintain white dominance. The first-era Klan disbanded once Jim Crow laws secured racial segregation, but in 1915 it was revived in Georgia, expanding its hatred to include Catholics and Jewish immigrants. Fear of communism and immigration helped the group spread beyond the South, particularly in Indiana, but scandals and internal conflicts weakened it. In the 60s, the Klan resurfaced a third time to fight the civil rights movement, committing bombings and murders, including 4 black girls in a Birmingham church and the murders of civil rights workers in Mississippi. The Klan operates through various secretive organizations led by Grand Wizards. Modern Klan factions have linked up with neo-Nazi groups, but court cases and declining support have significantly weakened them in recent years. Lehava is a far-right Jewish supremacist organization in Israel that opposes Jewish assimilation and any personal relationships between Jews and non-Jews. The group is known for its strong anti-Arab rhetoric, hostility toward Christians, and advocacy for segregation. It also campaigns aggressively against interfaith marriages. Led by Benzi Gopstein, who had ties to the racist Zionist Kach party, Lehava promotes the expulsion of Palestinians and Arab Israelis. The group has staged protests promoting violence against Arabs and leftists, and members have been arrested for arson, vandalism, and incitement. With over 10,000 members, Lehava was sanctioned by the US in 2024 for its role in Israeli settler violence, officially labeled as the largest violent extremist organization in Israel. The Black Hebrew Israelites are a religious movement that believes African Americans, and sometimes Native and Latin Americans, are the true descendants of the ancient Israelites. Their teachings blend Christianity, Judaism, Freemasonry, and New Thought, but they are not recognized as Jewish by mainstream Jewish communities or as Christians by traditional churches. The movement began in the 19th century when Frank Cherry and William Saunders Crowdy claimed to have received divine visions, revealing the Hebrew ancestry of Black Americans. It spread across the US, gaining followers among both African Americans and West Indian immigrants. While many Black Hebrew Israelites focus on cultural identity and religious practice, some extremist sects hold Black supremacist and anti-Semitic beliefs. These specific groups claim that Jews are imposters, condemn whites as evil personified, preach racial segregation, deny the Holocaust, and openly call for violence against Jews and white people. Notable extremist groups include the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, and the Nation of Yahweh. The Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord, short CSA, was an American far-right survivalist militia active in the 70s and early 80s. Rooted in Christian identity ideology, the group believed that only Celtic and Germanic peoples, especially Anglo-Saxons, Nordics, and Aryans, were the true descendants of the ancient Israelites and therefore God's chosen people. They believed that Adam and his descendants were exclusively white, and they promoted racial segregation while opposing interracial marriage. The CSA also embraced theories about Jewish control of the banking system, considering the Federal Reserve and fiat currency part of an evil beast system. Founded by white supremacist James Dennis Ellison, the group operated from a remote compound in northern Arkansas known as The Farm. In 1985, after years of weapons violations and terrorist activity, authorities laid siege to the CSA compound. The standoff ended peacefully, but the group's leaders were arrested and convicted, leading to their collapse. The New Black Panther Party is a black nationalist organization founded in Dallas in 1989. Despite its name, it has no official ties to the original Black Panther Party, and former members of the original Panthers have repeatedly denounced it. The group emerged from the Black Panther militia in 1990, but took on a new identity when leadership shifted to Khalid Abdul Muhammad, a former member of the Nation of Islam. Under his control, the NBPP moved to radical black separatism, militant rhetoric, and open hostility toward white people and Jews. Members have made inflammatory statements, including blaming Jews for the 9/11 attacks and advocating violence against white people. The group has been involved in various controversies, including alleged voter intimidation in Philadelphia during the 2008 presidential election and violent incidents against those who challenged their claim to the Black Panther legacy. While they claim thousands of members across 45 chapters, estimates suggest far smaller numbers. The Soldiers of Odin is an anti-immigrant group founded in Finland in 2015, named after the Norse god of war, healing, and wisdom. It emerged in response to the European migrant crisis, positioning itself as a patriotic organization meant to defend Finland from what they call Islamist intruders, who allegedly increase crime and insecurity. In some places, members have organized safety patrols, which has led to concerns about vigilantism. Despite its claims of being non-racist, the group's founder Mika Ranta has ties to the neo-Nazi Nordic resistance movement and has a criminal record for a racially motivated assault in 2005. While the group denies any connections to extremism, higher-ranking members have been tied to racism, criminal backgrounds, and Nazi sympathies. The Anti-Defamation League labels them as a hate group, but notes that not all members are white supremacists. The group claims about 600 members in Finland, but has expanded globally, with branches in all Nordic countries, but also Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Canada, Germany, the US, UK, Portugal, and Spain. The Patriot Front is an American white supremacist and neo-fascist group led by Thomas Ryan Rousseau. It broke away from the neo-Nazi organization Vanguard America after the 2017 Unite the Right rally and positions itself as part of the broader alt-right movement. The group claims that America was bestowed upon them by their ancestors and calls for a hard reset to return to virtues of the past. While they brand themselves as American nationalists, their ideology is rooted in white supremacist beliefs, especially the idea that the US is a pan-European nation. Since 2019, Patriot Front has been behind the majority of white supremacist propaganda in the US, distributing nearly 4,000 pieces of racist, anti-Semitic and extremist material. They leave their flyers mainly at black churches, LGBTQ centers and racial justice murals. Their flash demonstrations are labeled as white supremacist events, while their aesthetic blends traditional American imagery with fascist symbolism. Identity Evropa was one of the most prominent alt-right white supremacist groups in the US, founded in 2016. It played a key role in spreading white supremacist ideology in the 2010s, particularly on college campuses where they tried to recruit white men. The group coined the slogan, "You will not replace us." Their leadership openly praised Nazi Germany, and they had a vision for the Nazification of America. They rejected anyone who wasn't a non-Jewish white American and advocated for racial segregation with the goal of creating a 90% white America. After the massive public backlash against white supremacist groups following the 2017 Unite the Right rally, Identity Evropa saw a steep decline in membership. To survive, leader Patrick Casey rebranded it as American Identity Movement while maintaining the same ideology. Despite the name change, the group was still widely recognized as neo-Nazi and white supremacist, with the same goals. The rebranding effort failed and the group faded by the end of 2020. Hizb ut-Tahrir is an international Islamist fundamentalist political organization founded in 1953 with the goal of re-establishing a global Islamic caliphate under Sharia law. The group frames history as a struggle between Islam and non-believers and views jihad as an obligation to achieve its vision of global Islamic rule. While Hizb ut-Tahrir officially claims to advocate for a bloodless coup, its rhetoric has been criticized for promoting anti-Semitism, Islamic supremacy, anti-Western stances and hostility toward democracy. The group considers current Muslim rulers as traitors to Islam who must be overthrown before the caliphate can expand into non-Muslim territories through both invitation and military jihad to diminish the lands of the unbelievers. Active in over 50 countries with an estimated membership in the tens of thousands, the group has been banned in nations like Germany, Russia, Turkey, China, India, the UK and multiple Arab states. The Council of Conservative Citizens is an American white supremacist organization founded in 1985 as a successor to the segregationist Citizens Councils of America. It promotes white nationalism and opposes racial integration, interracial marriage, and immigration by non-Europeans. While the group claims to advocate for conservative values, critics label it as a white separatist and neo-Confederate organization with a white supremacist agenda. The council has been linked to several controversies involving racial extremism, with its most infamous connection being the mass murderer Dylann Roof. Roof cited the group's website, which frequently portrayed black-on-white crime, as a key influence in his radicalization. While the organization condemned his actions, its leadership, including President Earl Holt, defended Roof's grievances. The group maintains ties with other ethno-nationalist and white supremacist organizations both in the US and abroad, frequently hosting meetings with like-minded groups. Reclaim Australia is an Islamophobic protest group in Australia formed in 2015 to rally against Islam. While presenting itself as a patriotic movement, it quickly became associated with nationalist and neo-Nazi groups, with its rallies attracting extremists who openly called for the persecution of Muslims. Speakers at their events also urged people to insult and vilify Islam 5 times a day. Unlike traditional far-right organizations, Reclaim Australia never became a structured group, making it harder to dismantle and allowing it to draw a broad base of support without a clear leadership focus. It also spun off into the United Patriots Front, a now dormant group that, besides anti-Muslim rhetoric, openly embraced anti-Semitic agendas. Though not as visible today, Reclaim Australia's influence lingers. Les Identitaires is a French identitarian movement founded in 2003 by former members of France's far-right Unité Radicale and anti-Zionist and National Bolshevik sympathizers. Its ideology blends French nationalism with anti-Islam, anti-Americanism and support for the Great Replacement theory. The movement views the US and Islam as imperialistic threats to Europe's future. Les Identitaires advocate for redrawing European borders to create smaller regional states for the Basques, Bretons and Flemings. While they reject the label, their movement is considered to have neo-fascist tendencies and has been classified as a white nationalist and anti-Muslim organization. France banned Les Identitaires for inciting hatred, discrimination and violence. Despite this, their influence spread across Europe, with their youth wing expanding into Italy, Germany and Austria by 2012. The League of the South, founded in 1994 by Michael Hill, is an American white nationalist neo-Confederate organization that advocates for an independent southern nation ruled by white men. It promotes cultural secession, claiming Southern state culture is inherently Christian, anti-abortion and Anglo-Celtic in origin. The group has grown increasingly extreme, openly affiliating with the alt-right and neo-Nazi groups like the National Socialist Movement and Vanguard America. It joined the Nationalist Front in 2017 with its leaders embracing racism and anti-Semitism at events marked by hate speech. In 2001, the League demanded $5 billion in reparations from Congress for property lost during the Civil War, including enslaved people. They even argued that slavery was beneficial to Black Americans. The Creativity Movement is a white supremacist new religious movement founded in 1973 by Ben Klassen under the name Church of the Creator. It's atheistic, rejecting Christianity and other religions in favor of a racialist ideology centered on white pride and white separatism. Klassen idealized Adolf Hitler and aligned closely with neo-Nazi groups like the National Alliance. His ideology, described in texts such as the Nature's Eternal Religion and the White Man's Bible, openly promotes anti-Semitism, racism and calls for a so-called racial holy war against non-whites and Jews. The movement rebranded multiple times, with Matthew F. Hale leading the World Church of the Creator in the 1990s. In 2003, Hale was arrested for soliciting the murder of a federal judge and sentenced to 40 years. Creativity has been linked to numerous violent crimes, including racially motivated murders and acts of terrorism. Despite its founder's death and Hale's imprisonment, the movement persists through splinter groups across the US, Australia, Eastern Europe and the UK. The Proud Boys, founded in 2016 by Gavin McInnes, are a far-right neo-fascist militant group known for political violence. Despite branding itself as a Western chauvinist brotherhood, it promotes anti-left, anti-immigration and anti-LGBTQ ideologies, often wrapped in rhetoric about traditional masculinity. Members have been involved in violent clashes at events like the 2017 Unite the Right rally and numerous right-wing demonstrations. The group openly glorifies violence, even wearing shirts celebrating dictator Augusto Pinochet's executions. They are also connected to the January 2021 Capitol attack, where members played a key role in breaching barriers and fighting law enforcement. Although they deny being white supremacists, the Proud Boys have been linked to white nationalist and neo-Nazi elements, with some members sporting anti-Semitic slogans like 6MWE, meaning 6 million wasn't enough, a Holocaust reference. Their violence and extremism have led Canada and New Zealand to classify them as a terrorist organization. In addition to riots, the group has engaged in targeted harassment, such as vandalizing historically black churches in Washington, D.C. Britain First, a far-right British political party founded in 2011 by former British National Party members Jim Dawson and Paul Golding, is best known for its anti-Muslim stance and militant activism. Dawson, an anti-abortion and anti-Islam firebrand, and Golding, a close associate of BNP leader Nick Griffin, shaped the group into the UK's leading counter-jihad street movement. Golding, now the leader, was jailed for defying a court order banning him from entering mosques and later for religious harassment. Britain First opposes multiculturalism and what it calls the Islamization of the UK, while organizing provocative stunts like Christian patrols and mosque invasions. Reports indicate members attended fight clubs and received military-style training, preparing for violent confrontations with Muslims. In 2015, they launched solidarity patrols in Jewish areas, blaming anti-Semitism on Islam. Despite presenting itself as a Christian group, Britain First has been condemned by all major UK Christian organizations for hijacking religion to justify hate. The group is still active with around 1,000 members.